Hello! Today we're going to be working on improving flexibility in the hips specifically. A lot of us, I would say most of us actually, are very tight in the hips. It's not unusual. We will be doing some kind of deeper hip opening exercises today as well. So it's really important that you just respect your limits, be very, very mindful of them, and you never really want to push past them. You just kind of want to feel where they are and then breathe some space into whatever you're feeling. So when you're ready, we're going to unroll your mat and we're going to start in child's pose today. So you're going to bring your knees to the edges of the mat and your big toes behind you, and then come to just crawl forward onto either your forearms, or if you want to, you can put your head on the floor as well. And use this time really wisely. Use it to separate yourself from whatever else is going on with you. All the stuff that's happening outside of this moment. Step away from that and focus instead just on your breath and on the feeling of your body on the mat. And keeping your eyes closed, you can just start to walk your hands over to the right side. And then you can collapse into that right side. Just a gentle stretch through the left side body. And then you'll walk your hands across to the opposite side and then settle into the right side body. And then find your way back to center once again. And then curl your toes, lift up through the hips, find your way into downward facing dog. And it's the first one, so just bend one knee and then the other, stretching out each leg individually. Feel your way into whatever is going on today. And then come to stillness. Bring your feet about hip distance apart, maybe a little bit wider. And then you're going to rock all of your weight across to the edge of your left foot, coming up onto the right big toe. So you're kind of stacking your hips open. And as you stack your hips open, start to press them up. Stretching all the way through the right side. And then we'll rock to the other side. Coming onto the edge of the right foot, left big toe, pressing that left hip open and pushing both hips up and away. And then back to center. Go ahead and step your right foot towards your hands, and then you can drop your left knee. If you have kind of a thin mat, then maybe just double fold your mat. We're going to be on this knee for quite a bit, so make sure that it's comfortable. You can also just put a blanket or a pillow or something underneath there. And then we're going to start to just kind of lower a bit into this hip. If you have kind of long arms and you can't really reach the floor on the right side, you can also just scoot your right hand in, but make a point of pressing this right knee in towards your shoulder so it's not falling out. As you breathe in, imagine yourself lengthening up from your left knee all the way to the the crown of your head, the top of your head. And then as you exhale, maybe you can feel yourself dropping a little into that hip. And then if you haven't brought your right hand in, do so now. And then you can scoot the right foot out towards the edge of the mat and then angle it out a little bit, about 45 degrees, maybe a bit less, whatever kind of feels the most comfortable for you. And then you can start to drop your right knee out as well. And then we're just adding a bit more onto this stretch, opening up through the inside of the right leg as well as through the left side of the front hip. And then scoot your left hand in kind of towards the center to support your weight as you drop the left hip towards the floor, and you can begin to lift up with your right hand. Maybe lift your gaze as well. We're really dropping into the left hip here. You should feel a nice stretch all the way through the side. Take a big breath in and open it up. And then you can come back to center, squaring the hips off once again, and then scoot your hands out a little bit further left. Keep pressing that right knee away. We're really opening up the hips in multiple directions here, so do be very gentle on yourself. There's no need to force anything. Move within your own range of motion, just looking for that edge where you feel like you can kind of massage softly into your own tightness. Then you'll come back to center. You can stay here if you would like. If you're still struggling to keep open through the hips, stay here, or you have the option to drop down onto your elbows into lizard pose. See where you want to be. And then come back up if you're on your forearms. Again, scooting the weight into your left arm. You're just going to reach behind you and see if you can pick up the right foot. This is quite a lot on the hips, so don't force your way into it. You can also just stay here. You're still doing the work, just staying here. So if you can, if you would like to, you can reach up and grab for the foot. Then send your hip towards your foot and then bring them both down together. Do keep your gaze lifted and your chest nice and open. Still breathing space into the whole left side of your body now. And with every exhale, you can feel the left hip kind of drawn down to the ground. One more breath. And then release on the exhale. Scoot that right foot back in. Step it behind you onto all fours. Curl your toes. Lift your hips. Downward facing dog. Again, drop your hips open to the right side. So right edge of the right foot and your left big toe. Spin your hips open. And then the other way. And then this time, step your left foot through. Drop down to the right knee. And you can begin to lower into that right hip. Bring your left hand in if you would like to, but keep that left knee kind of drawn in towards the shoulder. And then once you feel that you're set up well, you can start to ease your way into the right hip. Breathe into that line from the knee up to the crown of your head. Exhale and draw your hips down. The movement is so small that you won't really see it, but you'll definitely be able to feel it. And then if your left hand is not already on the inside of your foot, put it there. And then you can scoot the left foot out to the edge of the mat, about 45 degrees or so. And then press your left knee away as you open up now through the left side of the hip into the leg as well. Again, pay attention to your own edge and only work within a pain-free range. Do not want to be feeling any pain, only a good deep opening. And then maybe you can walk your hands out to the right. Still pressing the left knee away and dropping into the right hip. And do keep your chest nice and lifted as well. There's this temptation to kind of drop down into it, but we want to try and keep that line still from the right knee all the way to the roof of your mouth, through the crown of your head. Lifted, lifted, lifted. Then come back to center. Option to stay here if you're good here, or to drop down onto your forearms. And you may have more access on one side than the other. So try it. If you failed on the other side, try it on this side. Or, if you are failing on this side, don't feel despondent. It's very normal. Just know that you have a bit more work to do on this side to open up through the hips. And then you can find your way up. Oh, and one last thing. Scoot your right hand in a little bit so that you can lift up through the left and maybe drop into the right side of the hip. So you're kind of drawing the right hip down and opening up through the left. Maybe lift your left hand up as well. And then come back down. Last thing, if you're looking for even further opening, you can reach behind you and grab for that right foot. Again, send your hips up towards your heel and then begin to draw hips and heel down towards the ground. Keeping nice and lifted through the chest. And be careful not to drop into this right shoulder here. Press into the mat so you're staying strong in the arm that's supporting you. One more breath. And then you can release it down. Scoot the left foot back in. Send it back. And so you're onto all fours. Press your hips back into your heels. Take a big breath in through your nose. And out through your mouth. And then you can send your hips up and away. And, oops, unravel your mat. So you're back into downward facing dog. Now you have two options for this next stage. If you like to, we're going to go into half pigeon. So you'll bring your right knee towards your wrist and lower down this way. So you want to see if you can drop your right hip to the floor if you can't put something underneath here. Put a blanket or something underneath here to support you. So if you can drop down to here and you have no pinching sensations in your right knee and you're feeling kind of good here, stay here and then recline forward either onto your hands or your arms or with your head onto the floor. Option 2, if that feels really awful, find your way onto your back instead. Onto your back, you're going to hook your right ankle over the top of your left knee, interlace your fingers behind your left thigh, and draw the left thigh in towards you as you press the right knee away. So choose whichever option is the most comfortable for you today. Remember, with every breath in, we're creating space and length and openness. With every breath out, we're moving into that space that we create. And then you can release if you're on your back, knock your knees together, drop them side to side. Or if you are in half pigeon, you can gently ease yourself up and step back into downward facing dog. Half pigeoners are going to take it to the other side, so you'll bring your left knee towards the wrist and lower down into it. Again, you might find one side is a bit more tricky than the other side. Doesn't really matter, just pay attention. Spend more time on that side next time you're stretching. Again, a blanket under the left hip as well could be really helpful, and then you can recline forward. Lie backers. You will lie on your back, hook the left ankle over the right knee. Interlace your fingers the way that feels a little bit weird, so not the way you did last time, behind your thigh, beginning to draw the right away. Wherever you are, doesn't really matter. The important thing is that you're there, you're in the pose, you're doing the work. Slowly, slowly, breath by breath, moment by moment, opening through the hips. And then you can start to slowly release. If you're on your back, you can stay here. And then just drop your knees from side to side, if that feels good. If you're in half pigeon, then you'll bring your both feet forward. You can cross your ankles. Just find your way onto your backs so that we all end up on our backs. And draw your knees into your chest. Give yourself a nice big hug. We'll finish off just with stabilizing the hips once again. We've taken some time to stretch them out, so I want to make sure that they're also strong before you carry out the rest of your day. So bring your feet in towards your bum. Take your fist and just put it between your knees. Take a note of that distance and try to keep that distance. As you now begin to draw your belly button in. So draw your belly button in towards the ground. As you do so, you'll feel your tailbone lift. Then just follow the lift. Gently moving into bridge pose here. Your hands are by your sides with your palms facing up. Move nice and slow. And then as you get to the tops of your shoulders in your bridge pose, start to activate through your glutes. Press into the floor with your feet. Keep that distance between your knees. Keep the hands by your sides with your palms facing up. Press, press, press your hips up. Nice and strong. Keep the activation through the inner thighs so that your knees are not splaying out to the sides. Press the hips up. Make it a nice and strong one. Take a big breath in, press up. And then you can begin to drop your spine vertebra by vertebra down towards the ground. So the way that you peeled up, you're going to peel back down nice and slow. Dropping the tailbone last. Give yourself a nice big hug. Maybe rock side to side as well. And then we'll take Savasana. Bring your feet to the edges of the mat. Let your knees knock together. One hand to your heart and one hand to your belly. Go ahead and tuck your chin as well, so that your spine is nice and long. You can lift your shoulders, place them down afresh. Lift your hips, place them down afresh. No pinching anywhere. Allow everything to soften. Let your hips soak up all of that goodness, that openness. And if you find that your mind is being pulled away, see if you can bring it right back. Perhaps track the sensations in your lower body. We will have dragged out quite a lot of sensations. So see if you can feel for them. See what they feel like, where they are, how intense they are. Tune right into your body. Just begin to wiggle through your fingers and toes. Drop your head from side to side. And you can come to curl up on your right hand side. And then gently find your way up to seated. And you may bring your hands together at your heart center and your thumbs to your forehead. Namaste.